What's going on, housemates? I hope you are all having a wonderful start to your Friday, wherever you are in the world, and that you've enjoyed your week, of course, following our massive 2-0 win against Manchester United. I was fortunate enough to attend the game, and I apologize for the delay in getting this video out, but I did want to discuss the win while also talking about our game against Fulham on Sunday. So, starting, of course, with the Manchester United game, I think all of us were very confident going into the game, considering, of course, our excellent form going into it. We had scored, 5 against West Ham and Sporting and beat Nottingham Forest convincingly. So there was every reason to be confident. And of course, Manchester United have had a really rough start to the season. However, Ruben Amorim has looked to be the real deal, although he'd only had a few games in charge. I think you can already see where he's improving them as a side structurally. And so that confidence we had maybe took a blow when we saw the starting 11 released. And surprisingly, both Gabriel and Calafiori were absent from the squad altogether. And so Jakub Kiwior and Alexander Zinchenko started in their place. And, the first half was pretty nervy. The atmosphere at the stadium was excellent for the first 15 minutes or so of the game, but I think everyone started to grow pretty frustrated seeing how we were playing. We really struggled to create anything. United were sat back and they offered, almost nothing in attack, but we weren't able to really break them down. And so it was one of those first halves where you start to get nervous that it could end up one of those games where it's a 0-0, or if it goes long enough, you never know if Man United could sneak in a goal, especially with the game with Newcastle and Liverpool. There were twice times where, at one point, Liverpool was behind. And so you're like, if Liverpool drops points and we do, then it's almost written in the stars for us not to get the league title. But things did improve a lot in the second half. Mikel Arteta made some adjustments and we really started to dominate in the second half. And it was just a story of corner kicks, and Nicolas Jover, our set piece coach, was the man of the match. Not actually, Declan Rice and William Saliba were both incredible, along with Jurrien Timber and Jakub Kiwior. But we finally got the breakthrough, no surprise, from a corner kick. And it wasn't Gabriel this time because he wasn't in the squad. And it was Jurrien Timber who stepped up. What a time for him to get his first goal for Arsenal. It was, a really good flick on from a dangerous corner kick. He was very close to the goal, but he got the important touch. And so we went up 1-0. And we could have scored from like 4 or 5 of our corner kicks. The deliveries were so perfect all night long. And so it was just hilarious, the fact that we saw William Saliba then score the second goal with his bum. Thomas Partey headed it on, and it sort of just went off of Saliba's butt, his behind, and into the goal. And he celebrated like a madman as though he meant it. But why not? You gotta celebrate every goal. They all count the same. And so that was really the game. United actually had one chance where De Ligt had a header from a set piece, and David Raya made another flying save to keep us up 1-0 and ultimately to keep the clean sheet in the win. It was a massive save. And just the latest of incredible dramatic saves that he's made in important moments in games. And I think that he is easily one of the top 5 goalkeepers in the world right now. And it's just beautiful to see, especially after all of the drama, of course, that came when he initially signed for us and all the debates about him and Ramsdale. But I think it's very obvious now that David Raya was the right choice. And it, again, just goes to show why Mikel Arteta was interested in signing him well before we even signed Ramsdale. It was just a matter of being unable to get him to join the club when we wanted to initially. So huge credit to David Raya for keeping the lead before we then doubled ours. And, there's not too much to talk about in terms of the game itself. We were pretty poor from open play. It was one of those games where we just weren't clicking offensively. And I do think that there is some reason to be slightly concerned about that. But at the same time, you have to look at how United set themselves up. They had 6 touches in our box. So they clearly had very little intention to attack in the game. They were heavily reliant on, on finding a way to exploit us on the counterattack, which they were unable to do. Saliba, and you have to give so much credit to Jakub Kivior. He was massive, especially having to step in so late on for Gabriel. Internally that might have been known for a long time, and so perhaps Jakub Kivior did have more notice. But regardless, Gabriel is one of the biggest players in our side. Not just in terms of what he does on the pitch with and without the ball, but even just from a psychological perspective. Like he offers so much in terms of his intensity, his aggression, and there's a sense of security when he's alongside Saliba in defense. So Jakub Kivior was excellent. I think that Zinchenko again showed his shortcomings, and I just think we're well past the point of needing him in the squad realistically, and so that's where things stood. So a number of really strong performances, but again, it has to be said that they came from our defensive players because it was one of those games. Saka wasn't able to be quite as influential, although he also had some excellent corner kicks, and of course the second goal and came from what was his corner kick, and that's almost a given at this point that Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka are just unreal. Especially Declan Rice, man. He's really like on some David Beckham-esque crossing at this point, and he's such a threat. And it's fascinating to see because, you look back at his West Ham career, and I don't really remember him being that guy for them. So we've almost unlocked or tapped into this additional trait of his that is proving to be so beneficial to us. And the emotions of our rival fans calling us Set Piece FC, calling Arteta Tony Pulis. It's all hilarious to me, and I'm genuinely enjoying it because they're all so annoyed about something that is not our fault. Like, it's being said across social media. What do you expect Arsenal to do? Not score from corner kicks, especially when you think about one of them where Marcus Rashford tried to juggle the ball and flick it up and boot it out for a clearance, and he ended up slipping and conceding the corner. So you can't expect us to just kick the ball out of play for a fair play moment or something. With United sat back as deep as they were and us attacking, what's inevitable is the ball's going to go out of play when your players are sat in so deep and blocking crosses, etc. So we're just reaping the rewards of the pressure we were mounting on United, but we do still need to look more consistently threatening from open play. Again, we scored goals against Forest, Sporting, and I already said it earlier. How am I forgetting? And West Ham, sorry, right? So it's not like it's just corner kicks or nothing, but still against these low blocks or, as defensive as United were set up, we still want to be able to break them down. And so a huge 3 points. We are still level with Chelsea in terms of points and our results, but we are behind them now on goal difference. So we sit tied with Chelsea in second place behind Liverpool. The gap is only 7 points now as Liverpool drew against Newcastle. And so you look at our favorable run of games coming up, and 7 points is a great place to be because as long as we can, get the 3 points in all of these games that we should be winning, we will be well within reach come the second half of the season, when things really start to get gritty in March and the pressure starts to mount. So an ugly win, but it doesn't matter because it was a win regardless in the end. And now we look to Fulham, which last season, proved to be a terrible set of fixtures for us. We dropped 5 points because we drew and lost to them. And so, we're really going to need to continue with this momentum that we've been building as we go to Craven Cottage. Fulham is in excellent form right now. They're in 6th place in the league, so full credit to them. They've done an excellent job. It was, Hale End graduate Alex Iwobi who scored a brace in their win against Brighton this week. And Smith Rowe has still looked excellent. Reece Nelson, I think he came off with an injury, but he's on loan anyways, so he won't be able to play against us. But we are going to see Smith Rowe playing against Arsenal. It's going to be a very emotional game for us fans who fell in love with Smith Rowe for everything he did for the club as a fellow Hale End graduate alongside Bukayo Saka. It's going to be so strange seeing them play against each other. And, for our sake, we'll hope to see at least one 50-50 between them or a moment where they're up against one another. Not so likely to happen based on where they play, but, just seeing them on the same pitch in different kits is going to be so bizarre. But we're going to have to be very careful against Fulham because they are a good side. You know, they haven't always had the most consistent results this season, but they're in the top six. They're fighting for a place in Europe right now, and so we're going to have to be at our best. And it will be interesting to see who's available for the game. I do think that Gabriel and Calafiori will be available to play because it didn't sound like they had the most serious of injuries, which kept them out of the United game. Gabriel, especially, I think he'll be back because he very rarely misses a game. But Calafiori, you know, he's already had his injury troubles this season and he seems to be a bit injury prone, unfortunately. So I wouldn't be as surprised if he also misses out on the game. But we should have a near full strength side again for the Fulham game. So that's another sign of encouragement. Whether Trossard starts ahead of Martinelli, perhaps, or Jesus gets into the side, we'll also see. Unfortunately, Martinelli did not have the greatest of games against United, especially considering that he'd sort of been saved for this game, right? He didn't play against Forest or West Ham in the Prem. And again, I think that's more a symptom of our system because our right-hand bias is still so clear. And I think that was further accentuated maybe by Calafiori being absent. But Zinchenko was in the side and he was inverted in the midfield for a lot of the game. So maybe that did put a little more responsibility on Martinelli to track back. But regardless, it's really frustrating to see Martinelli still maybe suffering from that situation. And so he wasn't really able to have as much of an impact as we know he can have on proceedings. So we'll see maybe if there is an attacking change against Fulham. We'll, you know, because Arteta has stepped up his rotation of our squad recently, and that's proved really beneficial because I think he's learned from his experiences over these past few years, right? And given how congested our fixture list is going to be in the coming weeks and months, that rotation is going to be so important. And so it is an encouraging sign to see that Arteta is leaning into that more. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we do see a bit more of that against Fulham. But we have to be confident going into that game. Yes, Fulham is looking really strong, but so are we. And we know how important every single game is now. So we will wait and see what side turns up at Craven Cottage. Will we continue flying like we have been? You know, we kept a clean sheet against Forest. We kept a clean sheet. Well, we did concede 2 against West Ham and 1 against Sporting, so those were unfortunate, but another clean sheet against United. And so we continue on from there. You know, Arteta's press conference will be happening today. In fact, I might have just missed it, but we'll see more news about the availability of the squad. But, you know, a lot of reasons to be happy right now as Gooners. That's 3 wins in a row, 4 wins in a row. No, yeah, sorry, 3 wins in a row. No, 4, yeah. Sporting, West Ham, and United. So yeah, sorry, I keep going back and forth. It is 3 in a row. And so we continue on from there, right? No, it is 4. Oh gosh, that's so embarrassing. Sporting, West Ham, Nottingham Forest, and United. We haven't won 4 in a row this season, I'm pretty sure. So that's a big deal. And again, it's just a testament to how important Martin Odegaard is to this team. It's that simple. So let's hope we make it 5 on Sunday. Huge day for us. And I will try to be much quicker with my turnaround for my review of that game. So as always, thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you have an excellent weekend, and that I hope it's, of course, capped off by another Arsenal win. So stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, turn on notifications, all those great things. And I will speak with all of you soon. Come on, you Gunners. Peace, everybody.